Thank you, Kim. As we take a look at our weather conditions heading further north of Toronto up toward Barrie and Orillia, there is a band of rain. It's very isolated, but it's up there, and that's exactly where we find Kevin. He's up in Barrie talking to, of course, police about this upcoming weekend and some safety tips. Simple as that. Don't do them. We have high pressure in place for the most part, but there are some showers out there, especially up into the Barrie area. We may see that continue today. A little bit less windy today, and the probability of precipitation is, of course, not really with us because we have high pressure. It is in place to the north. You can see the rain showers here and lots of cloud cover. But again, the models are even picking that up right around Georgian Bay, the potential of maybe a few little isolated showers, but then it stabilizes as the high pressure builds in. We're looking at Saturday through Sunday now on the weekend. There's the high pressure, but Monday gets interesting. Our next installment of Angry Planet is coming up this Sunday right here on the Weather Network, and we know that George likes to travel around the world. Here's a sneak peek of his latest adventure. Angry Planet, you don't want to miss it. This Sunday on the Weather Network, you'll see George's full adventure at that time, and we'll be live streaming it as well on mobile and on web. So let's take a look at where we are in terms of our weather conditions. But before we get there, today is a very special day in Kitchener-Waterloo. It's the kickoff to Oktoberfest, and Kasia was right in the thick of it.
Oktoberfest has kicked off.
Thank you very much, Kasia. It's a very festive time, to say the least, in Kitchener-Waterloo, and we have the potential of some showers, but it's not going to be in KW. It'll be to the north toward Barrie and Orillia. Looking at dry conditions for the kickoff today, and of course the big Oktoberfest parade is happening this Monday. So let's take a look at high pressure. Yeah, we've got stable conditions for the weekend ahead, looking great. Now we're jumping ahead to Saturday and Sunday and beyond. The high pressure ridge then builds in, pushes that low off the Atlantic provinces, which is going to be deepening rapidly off in the North Atlantic, actually. But for us, it is going to be a wet, possibly early start to next week. In fact, the rain, look at that, the heavy greens coming up into the northeast of Ontario, may be dealing with some decent rains, but look at the temperatures. If you haven't had a chance to catch Angry Planet yet, I would encourage you to do so. George does all these crazy things, and he travels all over the world. Angry Planet right here exclusively on the Weather Network this Sunday. Here's a sneak peek of his latest adventure. For the full story, you will watch Angry Planet, and you'll be filled in on all of the full adventure that George was on when he was in Timbuktu. And we're going to take a look, of course, at our weather conditions. Before we do that, though, let's check in with Kevin. Of course, long weekend, a lot of travel plans, but we need to be keeping safety top of mind. Thank you, Kevin. We have some clouds, some showers to the north. For us, just that little band actually around Barrie and Orillia with some lake effect that could linger into Saturday, at least the start of the day. For the most part, it's all about the high pressure that's building in. So the winds were at times a bit brisk yesterday, 40, 50 kilometer per hour gusts from the northwest. But now with the big blue H over us, and now we're looking Saturday through Sunday, the H moves off into the Atlantic. But that stabilizes the atmosphere and brings down the winds that we've been experiencing. Then next week, things get interesting because it brings up our temperatures. Look at that, 23 in Toronto by next Tuesday, but we're sandwiched with some rain. Thanks so much, Kasia. And of course, dealing with our weather, looking into the weekend, we have high pressure. It's coolish temperatures, not too bad at all. But we do have to keep safety top of mind. Why? Because it is the long weekend after all. Here's Kevin. So says you, Kevin. We have, of course, and those are very important topics. Impaired driving, of course, one of those. And we have to keep that in mind because it's Oktoberfest. Lots of different options to get you from point A to point B in Kitchener-Waterloo. Here's Kasia right now with an update.
It's a below seasonal day here in Kitchener-Waterloo as well. All right, we're going to send it back to you inside. But first, a little dance. How about one of these? Woo! Back to you inside.
Thank you, Kasia. Yeah, Uncle Hans is having a great time with you. Everyone looks great in lederhosen and dirndls, there's no question. Let's take a look at our weather conditions. We do have, not in Kitchener-Waterloo, but to the north, a little band of isolated showers are possible around Barrie and Orillia. But for the most part, it's all about high pressure building in. We will see next week a really interesting story developing with the onset of our next low because it brings up our temperatures. I'll just skip through this because I really want to show you this. 23, wow, on Tuesday next week. Thank you very much, Natalie. As we get into our forecast for Southern Ontario, for the GTA, I'll give you the details in a second, but today is a big special day. It's the kickoff for Oktoberfest in Kitchener-Waterloo, and here's Kasia with a very special dignitary. Thank you very much, Kasia. We've got high pressure in place moving away to Atlantic Canada this upcoming weekend. So looking at our time frame now, Sunday through Monday, low pressure system that's going to be coming in from the south will result in some rainy weather for us. What it also helps to do is advect some warm air into our area. So looking at this, look at that. It's going to feel like 29 on Tuesday.
BC. But now let's jump into our national hotspot. That was out in BC, 22.4, another day for BC to see
So
more.
there, certainly the heat is being felt now in Alberta as we get into the low 20s. It's above average by about 8 degrees there. But the big look now toward Thanksgiving in our weather highlights. We have two different features, one being BC, which we'll talk about at length in a moment, but look at this storm that's moving up into the Great Lakes Basin. That is going to be a major weather maker as we head into next week.
Yes, and we'll get into that in just a second, but first, let's talk about our temperatures throughout BC for Monday. And now let's jump into the prairies, where a pretty good skyrocket of some temperatures. We were talking about 8 in Winnipeg, 15 for Monday, so some good news there living across the prairies. And also some good news in Waterloo, Oktoberfest.
It's always good news when you're kicking off Oktoberfest. Yeah. And Kasia was there on location. She had a great time.
Yep, best morning show ever, she said.
I bet. October, they know how to treat people right there. Oktoberfest underway, and temperature-wise, yeah, we're into Monday for Thanksgiving.
Yes, but we are watching out for this. Developing stateside now, that will move up in towards southern Ontario, and that's rain Sunday evening in towards Monday. So that could affect the Oktoberfest plans.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fairly vigorous low-pressure system that's going to be moving in, and there will be some heat building in. That's really one of the other big stories that we're going to be seeing as the temperatures rise. Atlantic Canada, on the other hand, for Thanksgiving, we've got a lot of sunshine, a good dose of sunshine across the east.
And also talking about a little bit more rain for the Atlantic Canada. We see this low developing up the Atlantic seaboard, and interesting, it does bring some rain throughout Nova Scotia, but it sort of just blows up into the Atlantic.
Yeah, and then in the North Atlantic, it's going to be really gaining strength. In fact, St. John's, you're going to feel the brunt of that northwest wind at about 60 kilometers per hour as it moves away. And then other than that, it's the heat that's building in across Ontario. Case in point, Niagara Falls, look at this.
Amazing.
Yeah, that's a humid X of 31.
One on Tuesday as well, but the rain does move in. Stay with us, more on your locals coming up. We will talk temperatures throughout this afternoon. Nice warm up throughout the prairies. I know it was single digit highs yesterday.
Some of this is really the moisture from the typhoons that we've been hearing so much about in the news in Japan. This is all making its way toward the BC coast, so it's a very big, significant change in pattern. In some cases, well over 100 millimeters of rain on the way.
So unfortunately, that does leave BC quite unsettled for the long weekend. We're also seeing the potential of southern Ontario to be unsettled as well Sunday in towards Monday as this low continues to track further north. And again, some more wet weather possibly for the Atlantic too.
Yeah, it does a couple of things.
That's a lot of beer for 7 a.m.
Oktoberfest sees no time limits at all. It's noon somewhere.
Awesome.
Right?
Awesome video there. Now, for Oktoberfest, Monday looks like the rainiest day if you are heading out into Kitchener, Waterloo. That's when the rain does move in, but it should be clearing later on in towards the afternoon.
So let's take a look at Atlantic Canada and the east as a whole, because this low pressure system that comes in from the U.S. is a big weather maker, yes, but it also helps to bring up the temperatures, which is going to be one of the big stories heading into next week. So there's the low. It tracks up to the north of our region, in the region of the GTA, but heading up toward Lake Huron and Georgian Bay, and then it's going to be bringing up some temperatures that are very impressive.
And take a look at this. This is above seasonal for Monday. You looks like Nova Scotia getting most of the rain here, as well as the Avalon, and yes, bringing the temperatures up. Have a look at this. Niagara Falls.
Look at this. So we have humidex readings. You're reading that correctly. 31 in Niagara Falls and Ottawa. 31 it will feel like on Tuesday.